Joel, you've been up here now a couple times in the last month. What was how did they make this visit different for you?
We talked a little more ball. Talked about how I could fit in. Talked about their depth. And where he sees me. And his expectations for me my first year coming in and all that. So it was a little more of that, and I got to spend more time with them. I say on the boat, just it was nice.
What is it you like most about Tennessee at this point in the process?
Other people, coaches. Coach Hypo, great guy. Nez, Banks, they all sound like they're great guys. I mean, they don't sound like they're great guys. They are great guys. So being with them is definitely been a good thing.
Talk about your football fit. What stood out to you about how they see you? And
Repeat that for me.
what stood out about your football talk with them? How they see you? How they want to use you?
Yeah, no. He definitely said he sees me playing safety. That can be either or, just whatever one helps me get on the field the fastest. So yes, sir.
It seems like Coach Banks really has taken a big liking to you. Like, do you feel like you're kind of his guy at the safety spot?
Yeah, no, definitely. Me and Coach Banks, we've had a great trip. Being here with him on the weekend, we sat on the boat, we ate, we talked a lot of ball, just talked a lot of life. So he kind of see me for who I am. I see him for who he is.
You go into these visits and you get to meet a lot of different people, like recruits and stuff. But for this one, you actually have a teammate in Braden along for the ride. How much does that kind of give you just a little bit of comfort level?
With Tennessee, I say I was already pretty comfortable. I done came a few times, so but it was still cool to have Bray here. We had some fun. So yes, sir.
Who's your player host? Who'd you spend of the current guys? Who'd you spend the most time around?
Dylan Lewis. Yes, sir. So he was my host.
What what was the the vibe like when you're trying the jerseys on and you're doing the whole photo shoot thing and all that stuff and they're playing the music? Is it easy to kind of get caught up in those instances?
It was electric. I will say like just trying on the jersey, walking out on the carpet. They're playing the music. It's like it's a great feeling. Everybody cheering for you. Just a little glimpse, a small glimpse. Of what it'll feel like to actually.
So where do you go from here, decision wise?
I got to take it back home. I definitely got to go home, think, pray. You know, relax, and then come with a decision.
Where all have you been and so far this month? The other visits you've taken?
Yeah, I've been to Missouri, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and this is my last stop.
Where you want to do a decision before your season?
I already dropped a date, July 9th, so I'll commit July 9th.
What's going to be the biggest